One of the things that really piqued my interest when we were going through the Camelot Singularity outside of meeting Sherlock Holmes was the fact that Atlas Academy was able to make its way into Grand Order. Atlas Academy, for a lot of Nasuverse fans, is a callback to his older project, Melty Blood, since it was a time when the Academy was a focal point for the characters in the story. 10 years later, we find out that he's been able to revamp some of these ideas and bring them over to the Atlas Academy that we know now. It's one of the three main branches of the Mages Association, and the ones who attended this academy were alchemists that devoted themselves to finding out those juicy secrets behind mystery, or more specifically, the source of magecraft and its mystic power itself. Despite the fact of all this being true, these guys weren't really that good at magecraft, nor were they known for having a lot of physical strength. These guys were old school, the progenitors. What they excelled in was being big brain. Every single one of them. And in order to make up the difference in these categories, they would use these smarts to construct tools not only to conduct their research, but to fend off the haters in case they ran into any beef. And in the end, the people that directed at the academy were always said to have went insane. Either that, or we can go with Sherlock's theory that their failure in making their tools is what drove them into insanity. This is where the 7 taboos come from. The 7 taboos are described to be 7 forbidden superweapons that are capable of destroying the world. Now, when it comes to them actually destroying the world, I'm pretty sure they didn't mean it in a way like blowing up the planet, but I do think they mean if there are any tools that could bring desolation to the planet that hardly involve magecraft, familiars, things of that nature, Atlas Academy is the first place that you would want to look. Realizing the mistake they made when they created these weapons, all the people that attended the academy took a vow that they would never lift the seal on these weapons, or they would bring destruction to the world 7 times over. It wasn't taboo for them to make these tools. The taboo was that these tools were never allowed to leave. So you know what I'm thinking. Why would you even make this? Nothing good can come from this. But you know, they said that they had to protect themselves, so it is what it is. Now, when it comes to the actual taboos themselves, we only know about 2 of them so far. The first one that I wanted to talk about is the Black Barrel. Once again, this is pretty much a callback to one of Nasu's earlier works, Angel Notes. In the story, you are placed in a post-apocalyptic timeline that takes place in the Fate world, where the protagonist, Gun God, was actually able to dig up this rifle in a time where he was the only regular human left alive. At this point, Earth had been invaded by all these different superior beings known as the Ultimate Ones, and the only way that he could fend them off was by using the Black Barrel. Luckily for him, Gun God is the only one that can touch the barrel due to the fact that it's composed of a certain material that's the antithesis of these creatures altogether. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Sion, I'm pretty sure her name is Sion, but I call her Sion. Sion is the main heroine for the Melty Blood games. In her original lore, Sion was said to be the next director in line at the Atlas Academy. However, she did have to branch off and do her own thing, but this was her designated role. And one of her main instruments for fighting is the Black Barrel replica. Now, as far as I've seen, Sion is a person of pretty good virtue, so I highly doubt that she would just break the rules and steal the real version of the Black Barrel. What's more likely is that she was able to use her position to get access to blueprints for the weapon. From there, she was probably able to recreate the barrel either herself or with the help of somebody else. Now, as you guys may or may not know, one of the games that I've been playing a lot recently is a fighter called Under Night in Birth. And in this game, Sion actually makes an appearance on the roster as one of the final characters. The reason that I bring this up is because just like in her lore, she has access to her black barrel replica. She also has access to the gun in Melty Blood, but I figured since Under Night is a lot newer, it would offer us a better exhibition. So right off the bat, we notice that the barrel is no longer a rifle as it was originally. Sion's version of the black barrel is speculated to be a CZ75 handgun combined with a similar formula that was used on the original. I'm guessing that she figured it would be easier for her to tote around a pistol than it would a rifle. Rightfully so. Anytime that she puts the weapon to conventional use, it operates no different from a regular handgun. But when she uses the barrel, the weapon will start to emit a purple beam directly at her opponent. These are her special moves. And of course, she's not using it for its core function like Gun God because there's no reason for her to. Another one of the tools that Sion has access to is her ether light, which among other things, she uses to collect information on her opponent. Once she starts up her ultimate move with the barrel replica, we find out that the blast is so powerful that she literally has to strap herself to the ground with her ether light just to get her shot off. Otherwise, the recoil from this weapon would just knock her out of place. Even when she uses her super move, where she holds the replica with one hand, you notice that she has to wrap the ether light around that hand just to ensure that she doesn't knock her shot out of place. So despite it being a remake, this tells us that her version of the weapon still comes out to be an extremely powerful mystic code. The main difference between the replica and the original is that the original is composed of the fifth theoretical element, otherwise known as true ether. True ether basically being the same mana that you find in the air that only exists in the Age of Gods. No different from the mana that you would find in the Babylonia chapter. And as Sherlock already mentioned before, the Institute has been around for over 2,000 years. So just this alone lets us know that the barrel is one of, if not the very first taboo that they created. And considering how old Angel Notes is in the Nosferverse, it wouldn't be that far of a stretch. This also tells us why the replica, while still being a very powerful weapon, is leagues apart from the original. Sion comes from the Tsukihime world. The Tsukihime world takes place in the 2000s. Therefore, the replica inherently can't be as strong as the original because there's no more true ether in her era to be found. The second taboo is called Logos React. Now, we don't really know anything about Logos React specifically, but what we do know is that there's a Logos React replica that belongs to Waver's assistant, Gray, in the El Malloy case files. In this series, Logos React replica is described to be a mystic code that was created to seal the mystic power of Saber's holy lance, Rongo Miniot. And I'm not necessarily sure what she can do with Rongo outside of the singularity, but based on the things that she was doing in it, you'll understand very quickly why this seal is a taboo. From firing casual blasts that could level an entire village to deifying the Saber that we once knew by turning her into a divine spirit. This spirit is like Revelations incarnate. If you are not inside Camelot before she calls its true name, that ass is done. So, based off that, whatever the real Logos React is sealing right now, just know that it has to be Diesel. Both the Rongo Miniot and the Black Barrel are viewed in the same light as the Lance of Longinus, the same weapon that was used to pierce Jesus Christ after he was nailed to the cross. Another cool thing about the replica for Logos React is that it's also a sentient being. The true name of Logos Replica is Ad, and he's a pseudo personality that comes to us in the form of Sir Kay. Sir Kay being King Arthur's foster brother. What's more is that on top of Ad's original function of being a seal, he also has the ability to transform into various objects for Gray at will. He can turn into a scythe, a shield, a bow, a hammer, lots of other cool things because apparently this guy just does what he wants. Sentient being that can transform into a scythe? Is this Soul Eater? But yeah, while we don't know anything about the original Logos React, what we can put together from the replica is that it's transformative in nature, it's a seal of some sort, and it may also be a pseudo personality like Ad. Highly doubting that last one, seeing as how pseudo personalities didn't really become a thing until Grand Order came out, and if we're talking about items that are that old, the chances of it being one are probably slim to none. Anyways, these are the only things that we know about the taboos so far. I felt like I had to get this out there because these two taboos alone are just fascinating. It lets us know that Nasu is still working with a lot of ideas, and he's definitely making a solid effort to incorporate all the old stuff that never really got to see the light into his newer works. That in mind, we definitely got to get into a video on Angel Notes. I gotta put you guys on game about Sion and all the other cool stuff that she's capable of, because Sion is baby girl easy. She also has a counterpart that appears later on in FGO, but we don't talk about her because she's an imposter. And we gotta do some stuff involving Melcy Blood, but we're getting there. Let me know what you guys think. Like the video so we can get this trending. Follow me on Twitter, and I will be back with more Tight Moon content. It's your boy Tsiah. I'm out.